Hello, this is Bill Steffen. I tell you what, it's time for what I did on my summer vacation. Okay, just like I'm back in grade school. We took a vacation out west with holiday vacations. It was a perfect time to head out to the Canadian Rockies. Out there, they were missing the smoke, so we had brilliant blue sky out there, pleasant temperatures. I don't know that it got warmer than about 75 on the entire trip we were on. Almost every day was low to mid 70s, though we did see a snowstorm on July the 22nd, and that was pretty phenomenal. Michelle joining me right now and with some pictures to share from the event.
First of all, tell us about the organization that you traveled with and how it worked to travel with a group.
Okay, this is Holiday Vacations, and this is a travel company that lines up trips for clients and takes them. There are dozens and dozens of different trips you can take to Europe. I think there's even a couple to South America, maybe Antarctica, and they're headquartered, by the way, out of Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which is kind of unusual. Again, the company is Holiday Vacations, and I go along as a host. So I'm there to see that everything goes well, and everything did. We only had one little minor glitch on the entire trip, and other than that, it was just fantastic. Like I said, the weather was perfect, and all our accommodations were awesome. We had so many places that we could eat up high, so we could look out over the cities, and we learned so much on our trip with some of the historical events. One of the things that we have a picture of is a picture of us with a Mountie. And we heard what the Mounties do and how they got started. And they had the red coat on and everything. It was really kind of cool. So that's a little bit on Holiday Vacations.
So here's the basic itinerary. You flew into Calgary and then north into Jasper.
We flew to Denver, and then from Denver to Calgary. Calgary, we stayed a day and then hopped on a bus and went to Banff, Lake Louise, and Jasper. There are two national parks there, Banff and Jasper. And it's interesting, in those towns, you have to work in the town in order to live there. So that's interesting, but beautiful mountains, waterfalls, just all kinds of incredible stuff to see. We were out here, Gail and I, in, golly, would that have been 1982 maybe? So it was about 43 years since we've been out here. And of course, things have changed a little bit, but just a wonderful trip. From there, by the way, we went from Calgary up to Banff, Jasper. Then we hopped on a train and went down to Vancouver, the city of, and then we took a ferry out to Vancouver Island and in Victoria and the Butchart Gardens, and then we took a ferry down to Port Angeles, Washington. Had to go through customs, and then down to Seattle, and then back home again. So interesting.
Yeah. So you started from the Grand Rapids Airport, and how did the airport go?
Airport went well. We got through everything very quickly. TSA was very easy. We left on a Saturday, so there weren't many people at the airport.
Did pre-check work?
Yes, it did. But even regular check, was very quick. No one got stopped or anything like that. And we landed in Denver, and then from Denver we went to Calgary. Had to go through customs, which was very quick.
So United Airlines would be the airline if you went through Denver?
United Airlines is through Denver there, and then
you
all of our flights were on United.
Did you have the dreaded middle seat?
Yes, I did. And it wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad. I had thought that the flight coming back from Seattle went all the way to Chicago, so that was kind of a long stretch. And each plane was full. I did not see any empty seats on any of the flights we were on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how was your day in Calgary?
Calgary was awesome. It really was. We were there right about the time of Stampede. So we went to the location where they do the Stampede, and that was interesting. And then we went up to Calgary's equivalent of the Space Needle to have a meal up there. And that was interesting because while you're eating, it rotates around in a circle. So you get a 360-degree view of the city, which was really neat because there were some scattered showers out there, and I could look in the distance and see the rain. But it goes around twice while you're eating on average. And the food was great. outstanding there. I don't know if you got a picture of me and the Mountie, but we had a lecture from a Mountie there the next day, and that was very interesting. He talked a lot about Canadian history.
The Mountie's coming up.
Pardon me?
The Mountie is coming up.
Oh, okay. Some of the information here. Calgary, of course, has been growing in terms of Canada. Of course, Toronto and Montreal are right at the top of the list in terms of population, but Calgary has 1.3 million people. By contrast, Grand Rapids is around 195,000. So this is a city that's much bigger. A lot of it is related to energy and the oil industry, which is up in Calgary. But it's a very dynamic and relatively young city of its size, and very pretty. It was clean. The people that we talked with were very, very friendly. The hotel people, the people that we went on our walks with. It's interesting.
And there you are at the airport. You made it.
Yes, and we took a picture of that a couple of times. Calgary is known for the Stampede with the horses there, and we had a sculpture there with several horses, and you couldn't get all the horses in the shot. You had to kind of move around a little bit there, but that's a scene from the airport. Very pleasant. And then from Calgary, we went to Banff. Kind of an interesting town, a mountain town. There was a gigantic mountain at the end of the main street there. I went for a long walk through downtown Banff, and happened upon everything from a beautiful garden at the end that was there. That's the picture near Banff, where you have the it was one of the many lakes that we saw there. This one right here, the water was just flat calm. And I don't know if you got a picture of the kayak that I saw. There was a kayak going there, and it was the only kayak making a ripple in that lake. There's me with the Mountie. This was a retired Mountie. I mean, he was kind of a big guy. You can see he's several inches taller than me. And he talked a lot about everything that they did with doing everything from rescuing people that are out in blizzards to some of the history of the Mounties and how they started and how they keep order there north of the border. Interesting. And that is, I believe, the garden. Now, this is Banff. Now, if you're looking down the street here, you can see a pretty high mountain up there. It's shrouded in clouds, fog if you're up in it. But if you're at the end where I was of the street, which is about a mile and a half long, there's a beautiful garden, numerous flowers that were there. There were probably 24 little waterfalls with creeks coming down. Just on the other side of that road that you see there is the Bow River. So you could go across there. I met so many interesting people. I met a woman from Beijing, China, who was on vacation. Had a wonderful time talking to her. Sharing about flowers and what she does back home and what she was doing looking around here. She was with a group, and of course I was with the group. My wife didn't want to walk as far as up to the end here, and I wanted to walk and see what was going on. We happened upon a Korean church service that was in Korean. So wait a second.
I'm going to answer it and put them on.
Hang on a second. This may be something important. It may not be. Hang on a second here. Dave, can I call you back?
Hi, Uncle Dave.
Oh, it's Lisa. Oh, okay. Let me call you back. I'm recording something now. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
I don't know Elisa, so they're not one of our relatives.
Right. This is somebody about some paperwork that needs to be discussed. So it is important, but it's not important enough to stop the Canadian travel trip. Okay.
Okay, so day 4, Jasper National Park.
Okay, we're up to Jasper. Now, we stopped at Lake Louise, and this is a picture from the glacier, which is north of Lake Louise, south of Jasper. And we were driving along in the bus, and we stopped at Lake Louise. Lake Louise, it was raining, breezy, and really chilly. It was only in the 40s. That's unusually cold for them. And then we got back on the bus and went up to the glacier here, and this was amazing. We got in this cold rain, and then it became rain mixed with snow, and then it went all over to snow, and the visibility went down to about a half to 3/4 of a mile, just like it was the middle of winter. It looked just like a lake effect snow shower that was coming by, and the snow started accumulating. It accumulated on the trees and not on the roads, fortunately, so we could just kind of keep going. The temperature on the bus got the outdoor temperature that we had from the bus was just 33 degrees outside. So we got up here, and here the sun was starting to break through. The wind was dying down just a little bit, but I am holding up some of the snow that accumulated. You can see the white glacier there behind me. All the other snow that you see in the picture was snow that fell overnight. So pretty amazing.
Yeah,
this is also an area that has never been hunted. Or very, very, very short period of time was it ever hunted. So the animals are not afraid of you. I mean, we saw an elk right by the side of the road, and cars were going by, and it didn't bat an eye. It was like, okay, that's cool. Here's we have some more photos for you of that area. There's generally a pine, fir, spruce forest that's there. There are deciduous trees, the quaking aspens, which are very pretty during the fall time of the year. But this lake, there was somebody kayaking, and it was the only ripples on the entire lake came from the kayak. That's a waterfall, which is on the Bow River there, and you can see it's quite a significant waterfall. It's making quite a good noise there. I went, by the way, I went to the University of Wisconsin, and that's why you see me in some Wisconsin gear here. The kids get me that for Christmas, but this was definitely a sweatshirt trip. Temperature at the Bow River there was probably no warmer than 55, 60 or thereabouts.
Was there anything that you forgot that you wish you would have packed?
No, it was almost the other way around. I packed a bathing suit and never used it. Not that the hotels didn't have swimming pools. I just had other stuff that I needed to do, or other places I wanted to go. Mm-hmm. So yeah, what could I have brought along? The holiday vacations gives you a whole long list of stuff that you need to bring, and how to deal with customs and all of that. So that they were very helpful with that. And also, I happen to have a daughter that knows a lot about travel, so I relied on her expertise as well.
There you go, wearing your summer hat, very nice.
Yep, it was dripping a little bit. That was about the only time that we saw any significant rain. And you see, I've got on a sweatshirt and a jacket over the top, and that worked out fine. The temperatures were in the 50s there. What you're looking at in the background there is the Banff Springs Hotel. There are major hotels in Jasper, Lake Louise, and Banff, and they were constructed by the railroad industry in order to get people to come out on the railroads and to patronize this area and see this area here. And these are large hotels, and there's varying levels of accommodation there. I mean, you can spend $1,000 a night on a hotel room there. Mm-hmm. We ate at the Banff Springs Hotel. We actually went into the hotel and had a meal in there, and it was delicious. And we were looking out over the snow-capped mountains there. It was just a beautiful sight to see. So then from Banff, we went on the train. We got the train in the morning, and we took the train a couple hundred miles down to Vancouver, which is on the coast of British Columbia. Banff, Lake Louise, and Jasper are all in Alberta, and then you quickly cross into British Columbia. And the train was interesting. We really enjoyed it. There was a dome car, so you could sit up there. You could easily interact with some of the people that were on the train. I talked to a number of different people that I had never seen in my life before, and it was neat. That's a picture of the train, and I am in the dome car right there. The only glitch that we had is that the toilets in car 15, which I happened to be in, were not working properly. So it was best to walk down to car 16, where they had a kind of a communal facilities there, and that was like about the only glitch. The food on the train was great. You were not given a huge choice. It's not like you're walking into the local restaurant, the Roadhouse, and finding 50 options to pick from. You would get half a dozen options, but there was something for everybody. And I would often order local fish that people would catch, the salmon that would come up the streams there and whatnot. So that was
all right.
that was
So
excellent.
I went a little bit ahead. Let's go back. Okay, so at this point in the week, someone suggested that we start reporting on the weather where you were.
Mm-hmm.
So your day in Banff, clouds and sun, high of 71, perfect weather.
Yep.
And there you are.
Yeah, somebody had a Canadian flag there. I think it was a group from Japan that had gotten a hold of a Canadian flag. And so I asked them if I could hold the flag and just kind of hold it up. It kind of shows that I'm in Canada. And I thought that was fun. The sun was shining brightly when we were on the glacier there. You had to kind of be careful. I put some sunscreen on because you're getting the glare coming up from the ice and the direct sunlight from an elevation. What were we at there? About 5,200 feet or something like that. It was about as high as Denver. And that is solid ice. There were little ripples of water coming down, and they handed out paper cups so that we could all grab a swig of glacier water, which was perfectly good to drink.
Yeah, I bet it was good.
Yeah, it was very, very good and very cold. The temperature of the water was probably 33 to 34 degrees coming down through there. And if you were to go behind me, you would have gone right back into the glacier up at the top there.
So the weather cooled off a little bit when you got to Vancouver. And where are we now?
This is Athabasca Falls. I took some pictures of this, even some video of this. This is a really substantial waterfall, and it's right off the road. So you could walk half a block and see this amazing waterfall. It's not like you had to trudge 5 miles over rough terrain in order to see it. A lot of water coming down, and that's because almost all of that is meltwater from the glaciers that's coming down. But that was beautiful, and you could walk all the way around the waterfall there on the left side, the right side, in front of it, and you could kind of go behind it and watch the water spilling over the edge. And then we went to I was told the pronunciation is Bush Art, like it's 2 words. This was an amazing place. It reminded me very much of the Meyer Gardens, but very intense. They have, I was told, somebody told me they have 75 volunteer and on-staff gardeners in the summer and 50 in the winter. And of course, you're out on Victoria Island, over 1 million visitors a year. He was the man who started this Bush Art was a cement contractor in Western Canada, and he really wanted to start this up. This is a bowl that you see right there. There were little creeks that were going through all the flowers there, and I mean, it would have been a monumental task to take care of all the flowers that were there. I mean, literally millions of flowers all in one place. I mean, just the variety of roses that were in the rose garden was just phenomenal. And it's interesting. And the temperature there was in the mid 60s. That's a look at Vancouver, which is also a big city. I believe the city is 3 to 4 times the size of Grand Rapids, maybe even more than that. It was interesting because there was one main downtown area, which you can see in this picture, and there were several other areas several miles away where there was an upspringing of skyscrapers, and then it was lower in between. The tide was out, so you could walk. It was muddy. You probably wouldn't want to walk, but you could go out a long ways before you'd hit the water. And then, of course, the water comes back in the evening. There were barges, there were ferries, there were water taxis. It was really a bustling waterfront there in Vancouver. And that is one of the lakes that we saw on the train trip to Vancouver. It was interesting. We went through an area that was kind of a desert. There were blotches of trees and bushes and whatnot, but This is interesting because this is not a dammed up lake. This is a lake that formed naturally. The Bow River, or no, it's not that Bow River, it's the Big Thompson River, I believe, comes in at one end and it goes out at the other end. And it's a fairly good sized river, but it just filled up the valley there. So in the middle of this lake, the water may be 100 feet deep. And there's really not much on the lake. You can see some wood down there, which drifts down and then washes up on shore during the wet season. But there are a couple of little towns, and other than that, really not much on this lake. We saw several boats. I think the lake is something like 20 miles long, and most of it was several miles wide. The water doesn't get real warm like some of the inland lakes in Michigan do. But they said it was still okay to swim in if you could find a beach. But most of the shoreline there is rocks. And we've hit another waterfall here. It looks like the tree is kind of dead right there. Most of the area was thick, beautiful trees there, and you can see the water coming on down. That was making quite a roaring sound. There was quite a lot of water coming down right there. But we saw a number of different waterfalls, fun to see. And then we went out to Vancouver, the island of Vancouver, which is a fairly big island. As you go north of Vancouver, as you go north of Victoria, which is the capital, you run into agricultural areas, hay for cows and whatnot. And then to some very sparsely populated areas. There are hills there. Victoria is a population of around 100,000, so it's about half the size of Grand Rapids. But there are some tall buildings around and some beautiful hotels. Golly, some of the chateaus. We stayed in the Chateau Victoria, which is an elegant hotel, very pleasant. A number of younger people come and work seasonally in Canada, just like they do in the United States. My wife, Gail, went to Glacier National Park and worked there for a summer. First outside and then inside at one of the cash registers at the gift shop. And that was 55 years ago. So interesting. And the weather there, again, a high of 64, low of 54. And it felt a little bit warmer than that because we had sunshine for the most part and very light winds. You don't always get light winds. They get some really windy days during the wintertime, especially. And there's the sign for the Butchart Gardens. You can see that everything is manicured perfectly there. There was a whole line of people waiting to get their picture taken there, and it was so cosmopolitan. There were people there from all over the world that come to these gardens. I met a lot of people from Japan, and I had a good time talking to them. We talked mainly about the weather in Japan, which is what interests me. I don't know if you have that's the fountain that was there, and that's a big fountain. This looked like the Grand Haven. That looks small there, but this was a big fountain that was in one of the little ponds that they have there. And this is, it wiggled back and forth. There was motion to it, and it was danced around, and it looked different based upon which angle you were looking at. If you were looking at it on the right angle, you could see a rainbow connected to the fountain there, and the pretty flowers in the background. That's to look at the sunken gardens again. You're up on a hill and you're looking down, and there's area after area of different flowers. Some similar to what we have here, your impatiens and begonias, and some like the Icelandic poppies that you really wouldn't see much of here in Grand Rapids. I don't know if we have a picture of that, but there were two palm trees there. And they actually have a few palm trees that grow in Victoria. The temperature doesn't get below freezing very much there. And so you can actually, they don't grow naturally, but you can actually get a palm tree, certain varieties, to maintain themselves in Victoria. That was on top of the hotel, and we are eating breakfast and looking out over the city. You can see the snow-capped mountains in the distance, the beautiful blue sky. A lot of different birds going by. We saw several eagles on our trip. So that was kind of neat. We also saw a fox that had caught a ground squirrel, and it looked real happy. that was lunch. The ground squirrels normally have the upper hand, and they can run away, but this poor critter didn't. But great food. And this is interesting. This is at the Butchart Gardens. They give you a salad, and the salad has in it lots of flowers, the edible flowers. It was really a good salad. They have edible flowers from the garden there. And so, yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. A couple of the people looked at it kind of suspiciously, but they all enjoyed it. It was really delicious, and that again was right at the gardens. So then our last trip was to go from Victoria on Vancouver Island down to Port Angeles, and that was a really nice trip. It was like we were on the Badger going across Lake Michigan, except you could always see shore. And then we landed at Port Angeles, went through, I've never gone through customs like that. The guy asked me one question, and then he says, okay, you're free to go. I think he saw that we were part of a tour and not threatening. It's interesting. So there's Seattle, there's the Space Needle. We did not get up in the Space Needle in Seattle. We did get up in the one in Calgary. Takes its name from Chief Seattle. I knew that, a Native American leader from the area, settled in 1851. So not too far ahead of the Civil War. The farthest north major city in the United States. First Starbucks opened there in 1971. Pike Place Market in Seattle. There's the fish market there. I think that's probably what you're talking about. I didn't remember the name of it, but the fish market, of course, is amazing with quite a wide variety of fish up there for sale. Space Needle was built in 1962. And that also, I believe, you can go up there and eat a meal, and I think that may rotate too, like the one in Calgary did. So it was an amazing trip. Seattle, yeah, the temperature was 78, though you could look in the distance and see all the snow on top of Mount Rainier, which was the first time I was the first one to see Mount Rainier on the bus. So I said, "Hey, everybody, Mount Rainier." And we were looking at it from 80 miles away, and it was more than half snow covered at the time. We had a layover in Chicago, but boy, it didn't last long. And you have not seen Bill Steffen move that fast in a long time. We landed.
Yeah, so this picture is not from that episode. This is from a separate trip. This is you in Chicago on a separate trip.
Right. And we landed at O'Hare, and it took a long time to find the gate where we could disembark. And we had a full plane, and we were in the back of the plane. And by the time we get off, we didn't have much time to run to catch the plane to Grand Rapids. We had to go from Terminal 1 to Terminal 2, which are both, I think, United, if I'm not mistaken. And then, we were jumping on the moving escalators, or the flat escalators that they have there. And we got there just when they were loading groups 3 and 4, and I was in 4, so that's how close we came. However, I was told that since we had like 12 or 14 people coming from our plane, that they would have held that plane for 14 people for a short amount of time.
If it's really late in the day, that can be true.
Yep, and it was really late
in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really late in the day, and the stewardess said we probably never would have gotten out of there any earlier anyway, because there were, a dozen planes ahead of us waiting to get out to take off. Mm-hmm. So it was busy, but it was another beautiful day. But we were back in the heat. You got off into the gate at Chicago O'Hare, and whoa! All of a sudden it was 95 degrees. So that was different. Then we're back in the air conditioning, and we were running to catch our flight to Grand Rapids, which landed. The pilot made up the most of the 10 minutes that we were delayed, and it was great. Excuse me. It took a while to get our luggage. I bet you it took us 20 minutes to get luggage when we were in Grand Rapids. But we got our luggage, got home. Aunt Jane came to pick us up, and it was a great trip. Fantastic.
Is there anything that you would do differently?
Anything that I would do differently? I would make the toilets work on car 15 of the train, but that was a rather minor detail.
Yeah, so in case that part of your story cut out of the recording, I think we had a couple parts cut out that I'm going to have to go back and look at. But the bathrooms in your part of the train weren't working, so you had to take a hike anytime you needed to use a bathroom in the sleeper car, right?
Yeah, just over to the next car, so it was no big deal. And it was kind of a challenge for when you have a train like that, there are bunk beds, and the top bunk, for somebody that's old, might have a hard time getting up into that. We had a couple of couples that kind of snuggled together and both slept in the lower bunk. But on the whole, the trip was amazing. We've had 3 great trips with Holiday. All the trips I've taken with you, Michelle. I mean, we were so prepared for the rainy, gloomy weather in Juneau that I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. But ours are not so guided. We just get there and figure it out and take the bus.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it was.
Yeah,
it was
I had
awesome.
you on. We took the bus in Juneau. We took the bus in Fargo. I think we took a bus in Boston too.
And the bus was cash only, wasn't it? In Juneau.
Yeah.
And the golf course was cash only. They didn't take charge cards, which I thought was interesting. There are a couple other things I think in Juneau that were cash only. I don't know why that would be, but I thought that was interesting.
Well, that was a couple years ago now, so who knows how things might have changed already.
Yeah, that could be. But we thoroughly enjoyed. Traveling is great. It really is. And if you got the wherewithal to do that, and you can certainly there are inexpensive options. And more expensive options, take your pick, but save your dollars and do some traveling. It's really fun and refreshing, and gives you a sense of kind of relaxation, after the rat race that you go through day in and day out.
Okay, I don't have an ending slide, so sign us off.
All right. Thanks so much for staying with us here and learning about our trip. We will have another trip coming up here soon. Look for that.